Just reminding everyone to keep cameras off until we start this one. Thank you. Right, just quickly testing the audio, and then if you start in a couple of seconds, Councillor Ayres, we should be fine. Thank you. Yeah, we're live and we can now start. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. Hopefully we've all managed to reconvene over in this new meeting. So just to kick off, I'll just need to read the opening statement again. So good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Governance Committee. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being streamed live on our website and being recorded. Remote meetings are somewhat new to us. Their unfamiliarity and the need to get used to their technical operation mean that they are unlikely to go as smoothly as meetings held in person. So I hope everyone taking part or observing will bear with us. To help us, councillors have been given guidance on the conduct of remote meetings. I'd just like to emphasise a few of its points. Hopefully members of the committee are taking part from a place where they will not be disturbed or distracted. When they're not actively participating in the meeting, I would ask members and officers to keep their audio and video turned off. Anyone wishing to speak should type an H in the chat box and I will call them when it is their turn to speak. All questions and contributions must come through the chair, and please remember to turn on your video and audio when I call you to speak. Any councillor with an interest in any item should declare it and keep their audio and video off when it is being considered. They will not be included in any vote on the subject. When it comes to decision on any of the recommendations or motions before us, I will assume that if no one says that they oppose them, everyone will be in agreement. If anyone says that they are opposed, I will ask for a formal vote to be conducted. If we lose the live stream on the website, I will adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes and hopefully the problem can be fixed. If it cannot, I will adjourn the meeting until a future date. So moving on to the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. I've had apologies from obviously Councillor Walsh, who is now chairing the Audit Committee, so she can't be in two places at once, and from one of the parish councillors, Councillor Jackson. I'll just run through who's attending this meeting. The city councillors we've got are yourself, Councillor Ayres, Councillors Ambor, Bentley, Dudley, Jones, Sosing and Wright. We've got Parish Councillor Chiswell and Paula Mills, the independent person. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So item 2 on the agenda is to consider the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of March 2020. Can I take it that we're happy to approve the minutes? I don't have any comments, so I will take that as an approval for the minutes. Moving on to item 3, which is declaration of interests. All members are reminded that they must disclose any interest they know they have in items of business on the meeting's agenda, and that they must do so at this point on the agenda or as soon as they become aware of the interest. If the interest is a disclosable pecuniary interest, they are also obliged to notify the monitoring officer within 28 days of the meeting. So I'll just pause for a second and just see whether anyone has anything to declare. No. Then I think we can move on to item number 4, which is public question time. We've not received any questions in advance, and I'm not aware of any members of the public in the meeting who'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, I can confirm we haven't got any, Chair. Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is Chair's announcements. There's nothing to announce at this point, so I'll move on to item number 6, which is the Monitoring Officer report.
Thank you, Councillor Ayres. It's Lorraine Brown here, the Council's Monitoring Officer. There are 3 areas that I'd like to update members on this evening. Firstly, in relation to complaints, this is obviously a standard item that I update at every Governance Committee. Members would have had the update within the appendix, and note that there has been 1 new complaint since the last meeting. It was a number of allegations against a twin-hatted member. As always, I was extremely grateful for the assistance of one of our independent persons in dealing with this complaint. In relation to RIPA, RIPA relates to the Council's covert surveillance powers. As is noted in the Joint Committee report through the annual governance statement, there is going to be a review of RIPA arrangements that was scheduled for this year. A RIPA inspection was completed last week, and following which the inspector's report has now been received. A full update including the inspection report and any follow-up actions, as well as a new proposed RIPA and RIPA social media policy, will be provided at the next committee meeting. Finally, in relation to the Monitoring Officer's report, in relation to the Code of Conduct, also since the agenda was published, I've received an update concerning the Model Code of Conduct consultation. All committee members would have already seen the draft Model Code of Conduct, which was proposed by the Local Government Association for adoption this autumn. The next step is for committee members to be consulted on the City Council's response to the consultation. This has already been delegated to me in consultation with the committee chair. The deadline for the response is the 17th of August. I will be providing a copy of the consultation together with my suggested response shortly to all committee members and asking for any comments. Committee members may also wish to respond individually to the consultation, and in relation to parish councils, we will be making parish clerks aware of the consultation. And of course, members who are also parish councillors may also wish to raise the issue within their parish councils. I'm happy to clarify any matters if that would be helpful to members.
Do we have any questions at all on this item? Thank you very much. Councillor Bentley, would you like to turn your video and audio on?
Yeah, just for clarification, presuming this members' code of conduct is related to both parish, town and city councillors.
Yes, that's right, Councillor Bentley. It does apply to all levels, including county councillors as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions on this item? Don't see any further questions. So the recommendation on this one is to note the current statistical information as to complaints made and agree this should be published on the Council's website as set out in the appendix, and to note the remainder of the report. So hopefully we're happy to approve that. If not, please put something in the chat box. Perfect. I will take that as approved. So moving on to the next item of business, which is the pre-hearing procedure. obviously this is something that we've previously discussed in the committee, and the need to have this pre-hearing procedure following the hearing that we held last year. So if I just scroll on to that bit, here we go. So I don't know whether anyone has any questions on this item. So the purpose is to consult members on the content of the proposed pre-hearing questionnaire, which will be used as standards hearing is scheduled. The recommendation is that the members approve the content of the pre-hearing questionnaire as set out in the appendix. Does anyone have any questions on this one? Councillor Bentley.
Hi, it's me again. Just asking whether, if someone fills this in and it's returned, the questionnaire I'm talking about, and it's returned, does that then straitjacket them as far as bringing witnesses and other evidence to the hearing?
So my understanding is that it's sort of a starting point, and that it would be flexible, so we wouldn't be straitjacketing those that were taking part in the hearing. I don't know whether officers have a different view on this one.
Thanks, Councillor Ayres. Yes, no, that's quite right. If a councillor who is subject to a complaint and there was a standards hearing felt that they wanted to change something that they put in the document, then I would expect them or their representative to contact me and make me aware that they changed their mind. I wouldn't see that as necessarily, carved in stone what they put on the questionnaire. It's really just to help us manage the meeting and try to make appropriate arrangements, but they could change their mind. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any further questions on this item?
Chair, Councillor Wright raised his hand. I think it's not come up in the chat box, but.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Wright, would you like to turn your video and audio on?
Yeah, sorry about that. I did attempt to do the H, but it doesn't seem to work either with you or with the planning committee. My only question really is this. After the last hearing that we held, I was extremely concerned that the person making the complaint was not in attendance, so could not be spoken to, could not be cross-examined. And it does not seem, in the interest of justice, fair to me that someone can make an allegation but not attend the hearing. I have registered this concern with our monitoring officer. We have discussed it, but I feel I need again to emphasise that this fact needs to be clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Yes, we have discussed this a couple of times. My position is slightly different to yours, but my position really is that it will depend upon the individual circumstances. The matter that was dealt with last year, I had no issue with the complainant attending. Obviously, it's not the complainant bringing a case as such. They're reporting it to the council. And obviously, we have an investigating officer who would consider the matter, prepares a report, and takes a view as to whether or not they need to bring live witnesses for the individual case. And obviously it will depend on a case by case basis as to whether it's necessary for witnesses to attend. That was my position in relation to the one last year. Obviously, I don't know what the circumstances would be if we have a further hearing, and it may well be it's appropriate in other circumstances for live witnesses to be called. It really will depend upon the circumstances. I think the issue is where most of the evidence is primarily agreed. The facts are fairly agreed, and obviously that's a matter of fact depending upon the individual circumstances of a complaint.
Thank you very much, Lorraine.
Can I come back, Madam Chairman?
Yes, if it's brief, because I think this agenda item is really focused on the pre-hearing questionnaire, and the point that you're making, it's important, but it's slightly off the topic of the agenda item.
Okay, I'll leave it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So can I just check whether there are any more questions on this item? Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions. So based on that, I'd like to move the recommendation that members approve the content of the pre-hearing questionnaire as set out in the appendix. Okay, so I don't have any comments, so I will take that as an approval, and we can move on to the next item in the agenda, which is the annual report of the committee. So hopefully you've all had a chance to read through that. So the report provides an overview of the work that we've covered in 2019-2020, during which time the committee met 4 times. As you know, the arrangement that the council has put in place to promote high standards of behaviour are well established. And over the course of the year, improvements have been identified and practice notes issued to address to make these clearer. The transparency of the processes and the procedures is being continually reviewed, and the guidance issued to assist understanding. The committee's focus on its responsibilities is clear through the use of the published work programme and the regular updates. And of course, this was all set out in the Code of Corporate Governance and the annual government statement, which was covered in the meeting held earlier. And we've seen that there are many good examples of good practice and transparency. So I don't know whether there are any questions at all on the report itself, or whether there are any points that anyone wants to make about the report. I'm not seeing anything in the chat box on this one. Okay, so based on that, the recommendation is that the council is recommended to approve the committee's annual report for 2019-2020 for subsequent publication. I don't see any other comments or questions at all. Then I'll move to approve that. Perfect. I think then that's approved, and we can move on, which is to number 9, declarations of interests.
This is. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ayres.
No worries. That's why I just to say the report here is going to be given by Lorraine.
Thank you. This is a new item for members to note. It covers declarations of interest at the City Council. It would also be helpful for members to consider whether this is something you would like to see in future, perhaps on an annual basis. Obviously, happy to have any questions.
Do we have any questions on this item in the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at all. So the recommendation on this item is that members consider whether an annual report of this statistical information would be helpful. If so, that item is going to be added to the work plan. Would I be able to have an indication of whether members would find this helpful and whether they would like it to be added to the work plan? Thank you very much. Thank you for those that have responded in the chat box. So I'm seeing that committee members would find this to be something that's helpful. Lovely, thank you very much for the feedback. So I think based on this, we would like this item to be added to the work plan, and the second recommendation is that the report is noted. So based on this, I approve the recommendations, and this will be added to the work plan accordingly. So now to actually move on to item number 10 on the agenda, which is the work programme itself. Hopefully you've had a chance to have a look, and I'll pass over to Lorraine to go through what it is they will be working on and what will be coming to committee in the following months.
Thank you, Councillor Ayres. This is a standard agenda item, and obviously it's good for us to look at what work is coming forward. There's a number of new items that have been added to the proposed work plan, and there's been a number of updates this evening on various items. Members will note from this meeting that October will be a fairly busy meeting. In anticipation of that, the Gifts and Hospitality Review has been put back to January. Members will also note that in relation to the new Model Code of Conduct, this does include gifts and hospitality. So we will be reviewing some aspect of gifts and hospitality and our approach to this in any event in advance of January. Obviously, I'm happy to take any questions on the work plan.
Thank you very much. Have we got any questions at all on the work plan? Okay, I'm seeing one question from Miss Mills. If you'd like to turn your video and audio on.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. I don't know if it's for this committee or if it's for your Audit and Risk Committee. In your AGS, you've got a number of actions that you're going to be progressing through the year. Who receives a update as to the progress in those actions? Does there get an interim report come here, or does it go to your Audit and Risk Committee? Thanks.
Thank you for that. Yes, and basically what happens is, depending upon the item, it gets reported to either Audit and Risk or it comes to the Governance Committee primarily. As I say, these items will be looked at quite regularly on the or within the Corporate Governance Group in future. That's how we anticipate that working. There, for example, on the list, there's things like the RIPA review. That's obviously already been put in the work plan for the Governance Committee. The Code of Conduct and various items should be within the work plans. I mean, as we look at matters through the Corporate Governance Group, if we see there are any items that aren't being reported to members, then obviously we will plug those gaps by updating the work plans.
Thank you very much. I've got another question from Councillor Bentley.
Hi there. Yeah, I was just wondering whether there was anything that anyone was aware of in terms of central government's future plans for, our area of work in the year ahead that we need to be aware of.
The only areas that I'm aware of have been included in the work plan already, although obviously if there are further updates, then obviously we will add to the work plan accordingly. Members will be aware that obviously having these meetings virtually, that there's been a number of very recent changes. There have been some items like the Model Code of Conduct that were initially deferred or delayed a little bit, and then they're resuming. So we have found that. But the only items that I'm aware of that would be relevant to this committee, I have already put into the work plan.
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions at all on the work programme? Okay, in which case I'll move on to item number 11, which is urgent business. I haven't been made aware of any urgent business at this time.
No, we don't have any, Chair. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. In which case we've come to the end of the agenda and I'll look to close the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.